Let's talk Tanya for the 6th of Teves. In yesterday's Tanya, we talked about Gimel Klippos HaTameis, the lower level of Klippa, and how when a person engages with that level of Klippa, in other words, a person does a sin, so the only way to rectify it is by doing a high level of tshuva called tshuva me'ava, a tshuva of love. And when a person does that tshuva, because it leads to such an intensified relationship with God, that retroactively redeems the sin. In today's Tanya, the Alter Rebbe is going to talk about two exceptions to that rule, two things that are forbidden. They are sins. But one of them is a little easier to redeem, and one of them is impossible to redeem. The first one, the one which is a little easier to redeem, which, by the way, doesn't make it less of a sin, doesn't make it less wrong, but it's easier to redeem, is the sin of what's called the zera levatala, the intentional emission of seed. For reasons that are beyond the scope of this lesson, it has to do with Kabbalistic reasons of the way that Klippa is conceived. Even though, again, that is not allowed, however, a simple tshuva doesn't have to be tshuva mi'ava. This doesn't have to be this intense tshuva described yesterday. A simple tshuva, along with kavana, a person having intention when saying Kriya Shema Shalamita, the nightly reading of Shema, that redeems it, that act from Klippa. That's on one side. On the other side is when a person has an illicit relationship and a mamzer, a illegitimate child, is born from that, so that even with a tshuva mi'ava, even the deepest and highest level of tshuva cannot completely redeem the sin. And the reason why is because right now the Klippa has a physical manifestation here in this world, the child that was born. It's important to note, however, we're talking here about rectification. We're talking here about pulling out the energy from the Klippa, which is a very different conversation than forgiveness or atonement. There is no sin for which a person will not be forgiven if the person does tshuva. Doesn't make a difference what that sin is, including a person who has given birth to an illegitimate child. However, sometimes you can be granted forgiveness. You're considered a tzaddik. You're going to go straight to Gan Eden, but at the same time, you weren't able to fully, clean up the milk that was spilled. Usually, when we're doing a sin, it's not only that we're trying to attain forgiveness, we're actually trying to fix the mess that we created, and that is possible 99.9% of the time. However, there's this one exception where over there you can be granted forgiveness, but to fully rectify the sin is simply physically impossible because the child is over there. So there's a larger idea that emerges from here, understanding what tshuva is. And tshuva is not only about attaining forgiveness, but actually through tshuva, we're able to go back in time and fix the damage that we have done. In tomorrow's Tanya, we're going to find out about the unique status of non-kosher foods within the world of Gimel Klippos HaTameis, this lower level of Klippa. For reasons we will find out, non-kosher foods has a special status, and we'll talk about that tomorrow.